Hey, are you a business owner, entrepreneur, or professional? If so, we want you to apply to be a featured guest on our show. My name is Adam Torres, and I host the Mission Matters series of podcasts. I've recorded over 3,000 episodes, and we are just getting started. How do you know if you'd be a good guest to be on the show? Well, only one way to find out, and that's to apply, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We want guests that have a story to tell, guests with a brand, a product, or a service that can benefit my audience of listeners. If this sounds like you, go to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. I'd love to talk to you and get to know more about your story. Again, head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Mark Brennan on the line, and he's CEO and co-chairman over at Cerrado Gold. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adam. A pleasure to be here.
All right, Mark, so excited to get into today's topic. So we'll be talking about Cerrado Gold. We'll be talking about, how investors can really get access to the gold market, specifically in South America, and covering a number of other projects and their relevance to the overall precious metals market. And just to get us started off, I'll start off like we start every show with our Mission Matters question. So, Mark, we at Mission Matters, so we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. So that's our mission here. Mark, what mission matters to you?
Well, right now we're trying to build a mid-tier gold producer, and we have the very lofty ambition to look at production and achieving that mid-tier status by the end of 2024. And that'll basically be by bringing both our mines into production and expanding both the mines.
Oh, that's awesome. Love it. Love to bring you on the show and to introduce you also to our audience. So maybe just to get us started, tell us a little bit more about Cerrado Gold.
Well, in Cerrado, we have two very, very interesting projects. We're expanding and growing two world-class mining districts with the projects that we have. One in Argentina, one in Brazil. The Argentinian project is in production right now. We'll produce about 45,000 ounces of gold this year. And then we're targeting by the end of the first quarter next year to be up at around 85,000 ounces. And also have a development project in Brazil that we're very excited about, and we think it has the potential to be not only a very substantial mine, but the way it looks right now is it could be one of the lowest cost producers of gold in the world.
Man, that's exciting. What are some of the changes that are happening in the gold and precious metal industry that, the investors that are listening should keep their eye on?
Well, I think it's become very clear that inflation is becoming a problem for the investment community. And, I think that as we see more rampant inflation coming, and I don't think it's a question of if, it'll be a question of when and how well it can be curtailed by central bank policies, et cetera. But, I think gold has certainly become a much greater component of people's portfolios as we see the fear of inflation arising. So I think that'll be a very significant thing where you'll start to see a lot more investment coming into the sector, largely just to people to hedge from inflation. But we are seeing also in India and other areas, we are starting to see a resurface post-COVID. We are starting to see a resurface of production demand for jewelry, et cetera, which has also been very positive.
Yeah, definitely. And I've actually been keeping my eye on that. I've heard quite a bit about that. I know we've had a couple of other guests on the line from the gold sector, and they mentioned some of the same things. So I'm noticing these themes coming out of the industry from the people that are working on it day in and day out. So it's awesome. Let's get a little bit more into some of the projects. So specifically Minero Don Nicolas and also Monte del Carmo. Which do you want to start? I want to talk a little bit more about the impact of gold overall in the precious metal industry here.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think what we right now let's talk about Minera Don Nicolas. This is in Argentina in a very, very well-known gold belt called the Deseado Massif. We have neighbors like Newmont and Yamana and Anglo and others who basically, this is a very similar kind of district that you see to Nevada. But because it's in Argentina, you see a much lesser degree of exploration, probably 1/50th of the exploration you see in Nevada. And so, while Argentina is not the easiest jurisdiction in the world to be working in, it's actually a very, very good geological environment to be working in because there's lots of gold. And so what we're looking at is we bought an asset just over a year ago, about a year and a quarter ago. And, we've been impacted a little bit by COVID, but we're slowly peeling the layers off the onion, and we're seeing a lot more opportunity than we ever expected. Not only will this project generate substantial cash flow for the company, we're targeting somewhere in the region of about $30 million of free cash next year, just from the base operations, and potentially another 15 to 20 million from our expansion operations that we'll have in place by the end of the first quarter. So that's very exciting. And has lots of potential to be multi-million ounce deposit. In Brazil, we have the Monte do Carmo project, and this is in a new gold mining district that we happen to control. We believe that this district has the potential to be north of 5 million ounces. It's a very, very free, liberated, coarse gold. It's all open pit mining, and from that perspective, our objective here is to see not only substantial production coming out of there, but also to see, the production probably at lower than $500 all-in cost. And so that would be one of the lowest cost producers in the world. So, we have these two projects that together are going to make us a mid-tier producer. We're looking at substantial growth in production, which will drive strong value and strong cash flow. And at the same time, we're growing our resources very aggressively as well. So all in all, we've got two, discovery, I like to call them discovery assets. We happen to be generating quite a bit of cash flow now, and we'll continue to see cash flow growing out of Argentina. But as we bring our Brazilian project into construction and then production by 2024, we have the objective to be a mid-tier producer.
Yeah, it's exciting. You're getting me all fired up over here, Mark. I mean, I love to hear these stories, and I love to hear these success stories. And the things with mining and production is, it's not it takes some time to get things to the point to where you're at, but to see the growth and to see, I like that you say kind of the locations and who's next door and some of the benefits that you have to where you're mining and how you're doing it. I mean, it's just all good stuff. So there's a lot of, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of people that are looking, they listen to this show for different types of investment ideas. And you mentioned some things about inflation a moment ago, obviously cost production and being the, and how much it costs to get it out of the ground, right? I mean, that's a big deal, and what can make a good investment in terms of a company or otherwise. I mean, what are, for the people listening about and looking and thinking about gold, like what are some things that they should be thinking about in terms of long-term investing?
I think, you want to be in an asset that's, top quartile. And that's, for me, the biggest safety net of all is that if you can be producing gold at any point on the cost curve, then you're in pretty good shape. And as people know, probably the average gold production today is running around $1,200 all in. And so obviously with $1,800, $1,700 gold, a lot of people are making money. But if for any reason gold were to pull back to $1,300, $1,400, a lot of companies could be constrained by that. So you want to be looking at, I think the lower cost producers. Always helps if they have good growth profile, because that's a really important thing for the future. But the growth profile in the gold sector will be driven by resource growth, and that'll be brought into the production profile. And so find management teams that have grown and built assets before is my view, and hope that if they like the proposition they have with the assets that they have, that's usually a pretty good thing.
Can you talk a little bit more? I know you mentioned earlier about South America and where you're doing production, but can you talk about a little bit more about what makes South American production so attractive to you and why you went that route?
Well, I'll tell you, I think there's no better place in the world, in my view, to mine than in Brazil. The real is about 5-to-1 right now, U.S. dollars, and so it's a very, very attractive place to do mining. Not only that, but it's an area that they have a history of mining. Obviously, amongst the largest iron ore producers in the world. So from that perspective, it's a very good jurisdiction. There are a lot of advantages to being in Brazil than even other jurisdictions like Quebec, for example. You can bring mines to production a lot quicker than development projects to production a lot quicker than you can in Quebec, which was a little bit surprising. No, it's a good jurisdiction. The currency is cheap right now. The financial incentives, particularly in the northern part of Brazil, are very attractive. And so from that perspective, each country has its unique opportunity, but Brazil right now, I'd say, is probably amongst one of the top jurisdictions that I'd recommend for mining. If I look at Argentina, a little more complex. They don't have a long history of mining. They have probably in the Desert Massif, had mining from the early 90s. But again, you've got lots of significant gold production, lots of significant resources, historical resources. Most of the players on our belt, they started on open pit and they've moved underground. We're still open pit, so we have a lot of room before we start going underground. But anyway, on a more generalistic perspective, each jurisdiction, has whether you're in South America, Latin America, have its own complications or advantages. With Argentina, you've got the advantage of very interesting resource growth potential with limited exploration. But at the same point, you do have a macro picture, which can be more complex. So you have to be able to be nimble and be able to direct yourself around any obstacles you may find.
Yeah, that's awesome, Mark. I feel like you taught a good master class in a bite-sized moment here, and I know that we're just whetting the appetite of some of the people listening that are interested in gold and interested in different investment opportunities and ways to diversify their portfolios. So that being said, Mark, if somebody is listening to this right now and they want to learn more about Cerrado Gold or follow the journey and also the projects, of course, and what you're doing as they come online, whether it's Minero Don Nicolas or Monte de Carmo, what's the best way for people to follow up and to learn more?
Well, our website is cerradogold.com. I think you can get everything. We do have a plethora of press releases that we issue, and we have a lot of news coming out, drilling, and we have some new, very significant reports coming out of Brazil in particular, with a new PEA coming out by mid-July, end of July. And that should be very, very intriguing because the numbers, I think, are going to be significantly higher than the current PEA that we have outstanding. Go to cerradogold.com. Keep an eye on our press releases, are good to look at. Our presentation on the website is also a very good way to keep up to date.
Fantastic. Well, Mark, appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about your background and all the great work that you're doing over at Cerrado Gold for your investors to provide value. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. Hope you learned a lot. If you did, don't forget, hit that subscribe button, especially if you are a first-time listener or visitor. We definitely have more great entrepreneurs and stories and investment ideas coming up for you. So don't forget, hit that subscribe button. Don't want you to miss a thing. And Mark, thanks again for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Adam, likewise. Thank you so much.